Good evening, Nidhi ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, could you check your audio and your screen?
Yeah, I would like to check my screen sharing, but before that, I would request you to please send the invite on as an email to Mrs. Wattal, Dr. Wattal.
Invite? I didn't get you, ma'am.
The invitation link of today's webinar, could you please send her on her email?
Okay,
You
okay,
can
okay.
send it to me. I'll forward it. Although I have
You're
sent one.
asking for the invite to be sent to Ameeta
No,
ma'am.
you have sent the username and the passcode, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
She needs a direct link. Just wait a
Okay,
minute.
okay, okay, okay.
Let me
He
check
wants
if
the
she
Zoom
has
link.
just
Yes,
got it.
sir. We'll send it right away.
Yeah, although I have sent her, let me check.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thanks. Thanks. She's already in the meeting room. Just unmute her, please.
Ma'am
Dr.
has
Wattal is
joined?
there.
Ma'am has joined?
Yes, she's joined. She's joined. Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
She's there.
Good
She's
evening,
there.
ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Great. So this is not a full screen.
This is a full screen, ma'am, that you can see here.
Actually, there's lots of people I can see. Wonderful. Is it young people, or teachers? I can see lots of people here.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you also seeing lots of people? So it's not a big screen. Am I right?
Yeah, ma'am, I was just testing my slides. You can test yours also if you wish.
I will do that. I will just test my slides. I'll just do the screen share.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Give me a minute, please.
Sure, ma'am.
Let see the one second. Gallery view I've got. This is screen share. Okay. Is it showing?
Yeah. But
Yeah?
Yeah, just move to the first slide.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Then
ma'am.
I will, so I've got the screen share and I'll
Yes.
do the slideshow.
Right, ma'am. Perfect.
And so I've got,
Perfect.
right? So that's it.
Yeah, perfect.
And
Perfect.
I'm escaping it and going off.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I just shut it, then stop sharing.
Yes, yes. So you will do it. I'll be on the backup support.
Right. Just in the event of something going wrong, we do it like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So you can mute your, I'll stop my video.
You can stop and I'll unmute. I'll mute myself now.
And Nidhi?
Sure, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
My suggestion is that, you keep yourself unmuted so that in the event of them, getting stuck with us not being
Hi,
muted.
my name is
Fine,
Jay.
fine.
I'm a
I'll
first
keep
year
myself unmuted.
at Monash University, Australia. So for me, questions like will I get into a reputable university and what major would be right for me were of utmost concern after high school. And I'm sure a lot of us feel lost making these decisions. However, StudyCo has been immensely patient and supportive throughout this journey. The support and guidance provided by Ms. Mubaraka and the effort she took to go above and beyond for my future gave me a sense of security and relief. Additionally, StudyCo has been accommodating and extremely understanding, and that is why I would strongly recommend StudyCo to anyone.
Hello, I am Jason Matthias and I went to Indian School Muscat and graduated in the year 2017. I then approached StudyCo, specifically Miss Annette Rosario, to gain help in pursuing my studies in the United Kingdom. It was a very smooth process from the beginning till the end. The list of required documents were given to me well in advance. The procedures were laid out very well and the visa procedures were explained thoroughly. With the help of Miss Annette and her persistent work towards my application, I was able to make my way into Solent University in Southampton, United Kingdom.
Hi everyone, my name is Rochelle Vaz and I'm a former ISMite. After passing out from ISM in 2014 with flying colors, I really wanted to pursue MBBS to become a doctor. But I just didn't know where to begin. I came across StudyCo just by chance, and they provided me with excellent guidance, not just in understanding the gravity of medical education, but also showed me the right path to achieving my dreams. They guided me all through the application process for Monash University, Malaysia, which is an Australian university in Malaysia, and took away a large part of my anxiousness in this regard.
Hello everyone, my name is Rapali and I am currently studying in Australia. So I always had this dream of going and studying abroad, and StudyCo has helped me immensely in achieving my dream. So I am here in Australia just because of them. They helped me in every step of the way, from filling in applications to arranging documents, filling in visa applications, everything. Even though the process was so complicated, they made it very easy. They do everything for you and they never get irritated even if you ask them small questions again and again. So I encourage you all to go through StudyCo. They are wonderful people and I would recommend them to everyone. Thank you.
So, there are a few cool programs and services we offer at StudyCo that you may not know about. First group, for all the teachers, principals and education staff out there, StudyCo has a range of professional development programs in every aspect possible: leadership programs, education management and courses to upskill. We can also organise overseas tours for counsellors, teachers and principals with Australian schools, universities and the Department of Education. The delivery? Of course, we can deliver these programs in person in Australia as a tour, or we can even do virtual tours of exactly the same experience in the current situation. Another great aspect of these teacher training programs is that we can bring someone right here to Oman or any other part of the world to conduct this training. At StudyCo, we are flexible, we can tailor-make solutions to suit your needs. The second group. This one is for all students, parents, teachers and anyone really. StudyCo offers online courses in every single field imaginable, including business, engineering, health, law, oil and gas, soft skills like CV writing, interviews, personal development, English, the CELTA. I still haven't even scratched the surface. So you name it, we can arrange it. These can be completed in a matter of hours, days, or months. You pick. Come to us with your subject of interest, or let us help you pick. Give us a time frame and we can deliver it online. If you have any questions, our office in Quorum is open for business and you can come meet any of our team in person to discuss your future study journey. Hope to see you there. I'm Mubaraka. I'm here in the StudyCo Oman office and I wanted to take this opportunity to answer some common FAQs from students and parents. Number 1. So at StudyCo, we do the entire application and visa process for you free of charge. So that means we have counsellors that help students decide exactly what they want to study, which university is best for that area of study, and the right destination country to suit all your needs. We then gather your documents and the rest is done by us. Number 2. So StudyCo assists in finding the right accommodation options, and we generally recommend that the student stays on campus for the first year of their degree. Health cover, we have a great provider in Allianz, and the processes are done entirely through us. In terms of the on-the-ground support, StudyCo's headquarters are located in Australia with countless onshore services available to students at all times. Students or parents can get in touch with any StudyCo staff across our offices in over 20 countries and we will help you out. We can even take care of your travel needs. So we provide a truly comprehensive service. And don't forget, it's free. Question number 3. So we know that permanent residency and migration is always on everyone's minds, especially when it comes to studying in Australia. At StudyCo, we have great migration agents that can personally help guide you through the entire process, including any questions you have. We are all about making things just that much easier for students, parents, and teachers. And the final question, why Australia? So at StudyCo, we send students to study across the entire world. There isn't a single country we haven't tapped into yet. So you can come to us with any destination you have in mind. We do specialise in Australia, and as you all know, Australian institutions are ranked amongst the top in the world, and so is our standard of living. These universities also offer great part scholarships, grants, and are ranked very highly for graduate employability. So I think that definitely solves a lot of the concerns that all the parents out there would have. If you have any other questions, our office in Coram is open for business, and you can come meet us and any of our StudyCo staff at any time. Hope to see you there.
Hi, my name is Joshua Jimmy, and I'm the head boy of Indian School Muscat. I'm obliged to appreciate and congratulate Honorable Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal for winning an exceptional literary award, the Wattal International Award 2020, and thank you for accepting our invitation to grace this inaugural ceremony.
Distinguished guest, Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, Honorable Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, Dr. Bibi Sam Samuel, and honorable members on the board, Mr. Ajay Kumar J, President, Indian School Muscat Management Committee, esteemed members of Indian School Muscat Management Committee, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, Presidents and esteemed members of all Indian School Management Committees in the Sultanate of Oman, Honorable Principals, Vice Principals, Assistant Vice Principals, Supervisors, Coordinators, Heads of Departments, Teachers, Parents, and Students. Good evening. Welcome to Avenue 2020, a virtual career guidance program hosted by Indian School Muscat under the auspices of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. This is Hargun Kaur Raina of Class 11C from Indian School Muscat, your host this evening. We feel privileged at the generosity bestowed upon us, the Indian diaspora by the benevolent His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, and the air of benign warmth we experience in Oman we call home. Our fervent prayers are always for the good health of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq and the prosperity of this magnificent nation and its affable people. I am extremely honored to welcome the Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, all the members of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman. A hearty welcome to Mr. Ajay Kumar Pillai, the President of Indian School Management Committee, and other members of the School Management Committee of Indian School Muscat. I am privileged to welcome our dear Principal of Indian School Muscat, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, Presidents and members of the Management Committees of Indian schools across the Sultanate. I extend a sincere welcome to all the principals, vice principals, assistant vice principals, coordinators, supervisors, the entire teaching community, parents, grandparents, students, invitees, and all our well-wishers from all the Indian schools in Oman and our worldwide audience. Challenges are what make life engrossing. Otherwise, the mundanity of it would have deprived us of the opportunity to explore a vast store of abundance life has to offer. What a wonderful way it is to be able to acquire insight into a very pressing matter that we face in these modern times. We accord a warm welcome to our speaker for this session, an eminent personality, Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, Principal, Springdale School, New Delhi, and Founder Principal and Executive Member, Springdale School, Dubai. She was Chairperson, National Progressive Schools Conference, and has worked in the sphere of education for over 3 decades for schools and universities at both national and international levels. Let us watch a video on ma'am.
I'm Ameeta Mulla Wattal, and I have been in education for nearly 43 years now, and I'm the principal of Springdale School.
Thank you, Savio Sebastian Komat of Class 11D for the brilliant video. Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, the face of women power, proud recipient of various prestigious awards, will delve deeply this evening into the topic, Art of living in multicultural environment. Ma'am, the platform is all yours.
Thank you so very much for inviting me. And I take this opportunity to particularly thank Dr. Baby Samuel and the principal of the school, Dr. Rajiv Chauhan, the wonderful family of the Indian school, the principals, and so many students that I have met, and the absolutely awesome schools that I have visited during my trip to Oman, and the conversations that I have had with the management members, particularly Dr. Samuel, and the kind of involvement, the kind of vision that I have seen in the schools is absolutely amazing. And I can tell by the way that the wonderful compere today, the young lady, unfortunately, I never got your name, the way you were speaking, the way you were comparing, the quality of the video that was produced was absolutely awesome. And it talks a lot about how the school is grooming you and the kind of people that you're becoming, sort of truly global citizens. So thank you again for giving me this great opportunity of chatting with you. And I hope that there will be some questions that will come up after I have spoken. So I'd begin by saying that, that I hope that everybody is safe and is keeping well, and your families are well. And I'm sure that we will get over this, because ultimately everything passes and life comes to a full circle. So God bless you all. So I'd start by saying that, I think with the pandemic, the whole understanding of what multiculturalism is has changed. Essentially, when we talk about a multicultural world, we talk about where people live together in ethnic groups, in different ethnic groups. They speak different tongues, they have different backgrounds, they come from different places, and so on. But interestingly, what has happened during the pandemic, and I would like to certainly throw light on this, is that what happened during this time is that multiculturalism has taken on a new face. And the face is that economy, disease, climate, all aspects of what we talk about as the movement of mankind. And this has become a seamless movement through the globe. So I think we've all got enveloped in a kind of a multicultural world. And it isn't as though just because we're staying with a couple of people who are different from us that we call ourselves multicultural. We've all become very multicultural in the way that we are thinking. So how are we going to live in this? So this picture of, say, you living in Oman and being multicultural, me living in India and may not being multicultural, but at the same time, I think the whole world has become multicultural, the way that we have been connected to the different aspects of things that you've seen evolving as a result of this pandemic. And I think the most important thing for our happiness and our survival is that we have to think about each other, irrespective of where we live, irrespective of who we are, because we cannot anymore live in pockets of poverty and pockets of prosperity, because somebody's poverty will affect the prosperity and somebody else's prosperity will affect somebody's poverty pocket. So the point I'm trying to make is that the world has been brought together, and in many ways, to see its true face, its challenges and its successes through the pandemic. And so I think we'll have to relook at what we say when we say truly that a man is not a soul trapped by geographical boundaries, but he's actually a citizen of the world. And unfortunately, it was sad that it was this disease that actually made us believe about the globalness of the way that we are panning out as a people. Not so much as when we talked about global economies, but unfortunately, the pandemic has shown us a different kind of a world that we're seeing today. And so we're really, truly living in a multicultural world. And I think it's important for you and me to understand what kind of measures, what kind of protocols we should follow if we want to really inhabit this world, and if we want to really own this world and the kind of jobs that we want to have in this world, I think we'll have to rework at the way that we look at multiculturalism. Because at the end of the day, much of the energy that drives the global economy of the 21st century will be the brain power that you will show in your classrooms. It is your brain power that will generate this. So wherever you live, whatever you do, all of us are together in this because we need to have a personal stake in what we are learning and how we are being educated. Because there is no doubt that unless you are highly skilled and unless you are educated, the world has no place for you. What is this education that I'm talking about? Because more and more what we are seeing is that children are coming out of schools and colleges, but the market says we don't have place for them because they do not have the skills of the 21st century. They're not matching it. So there's something that is not really happening in the classrooms across the world. Because why is it? So I think it's very important that we look at these aspects today and think about it. With that, I will start a bit of a screen share. And can you see the screen? Is it visible to all of you? Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Great, thank you. So I think I'll just take this as a slideshow and and start from the beginning. Right, is it visible now? Yes, thank you. So when I'm talking about a multicultural world, I'm talking about the kind of choices and challenges that you need to make. What are going to be the choices that you will make in this world? What is it that you will choose and what is it that you will dismiss? It's very important. And what is it that you want to learn? I think it's very important in your mind to ask your teacher, this is what I want to learn because this is getting me ready for 21st century. It need not necessarily be those 5 NCERT books that you are reading. In fact, they may not get us anywhere because ultimately content you can be delivered through a tutorial or through a coaching class. What the market wants is not the NCERT book. There's much more what it wants from you. And that is the kind of multiculturalism that you have to start thinking of. And so when we talk about it, there are 7 billion people and there are 7 billion agendas in this world. You are part of the 7 billion. And today, the way that we're interconnected, I think never in the history of mankind can we see those kind of interconnections. So you're seeing the way that we're interconnected. So you have to start thinking, what is it? How do I connect with the world? Do I connect in a kind of a vacuum of those 5 books of physics, chemistry, biology, or social science or accountancy that I'm studying? Is that my only connect with the world? So my friends, if you're looking at lucrative careers, which you all are, even if you're an engineer, even if you're going to be a doctor, that's not going to help. So how are you going to be the best doctor and the best engineer? Because the place today, there's so many human beings, has no place for mediocrity. So how are you going to get out of that mediocrity is what you need to know. And what are the changes that are impacting us? The changes that are impacting us are of information. The changes that are impacting us are of entrepreneurship. The changes that are impacting us are of mobility. So you have to ask yourself, am I connected to this information age? Do I understand what is this information? Do I know what to take in and what to dismiss? Or do I spend my whole day surfing some rubbish? Do I keep flicking from video to video? Do I keep flicking in the social media? What exactly it is that I need to know what information is? And am I going to keep working for other people all the time? Why can't I create my own job creations? Why can't I be an entrepreneur? Why can't I give jobs to people? Why can't I be innovative and make my own jobs? Why do I have to start looking at some great company to hire me? Why can't I be the person who creates a new company that everybody wants to be a part of? Today, the world is our oyster. The world is your oyster. Stop thinking about working for other people. Start thinking about working for yourself and creating more jobs for other people. It's very important to have an entrepreneurship mindset. And of course, the most important thing is the demographies are changing. And that is going to help us. Firstly, we're extremely mobile. We're moving all over the place. And secondly, the most important thing is, we all know that the West is aging. What is remaining young in many ways is Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. So your hopes, your aspirations, the kind of requirements that you want with this world, that is going to change the world. So that is the kind of jobs that you will bring out, the kind of jobs that you want to have. Those are jobs that will be coming out into the market. Now, when we look at as to what is around us today, these are figures that all of us have become so, they are icons that all of us have become so very used to seeing. And I think they are ruling us. There is a digital dictatorship that has taken place. They have enveloped our lives. We have become the victims of big data algorithms, right? And so what is happening to us? That unless we are ready to change, we will become irrelevant. In the olden days, people were exploited. They were exploited by the rich. They were exploited by industry. They were exploited by business. But today, you will become irrelevant. So the danger today is not exploitation, it is irrelevance. Do we want to be irrelevant? You can be irrelevant as a young person, you can be irrelevant as a middle-aged person, you can be irrelevant as an old person. Is that what we want to do with our lives? To become irrelevant? And so what is it that we have to study? What is it that we have to learn? What is the kind of person that we need to become to prevent us from becoming irrelevant? That is the question you have to ask you. Do you want to be irrelevant? Do you want to be mediocre? So we have to start relooking and rethinking as to how we are going to engage ourselves and move forward. One of the most important things of preventing yourself from being irrelevant is about understanding cross-cultural literacies. And what is a cross-cultural literacy? The ability to be able to dialogue, the ability to be able to change, the ability to be able to think creatively, the ability to think globally, to be resourceful and to be flexible. I notice in schools, if we are changed from one section to another, we get very upset. We can't bear that change. So if we can't bear minor changes in our life, how are we going to look at the big changes? We will become irrelevant if we are going to become rigid. So one important thing is to be ready to be flexible, to ready to change, ready to take a stand and say, doesn't matter, if this doesn't work, that will work. So I think it's very important to change the way we look at the world and the attitudes we have. You are the youngest population in the world today, the youngest, and 50% of the young people are in the nations I've just mentioned, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. So this vast resource is going to shape the world. So your primary choices, your primary values, your primary attitudes will have a bearing on your own future. Because the future is here. There is no future tomorrow. The future is today. It's very strange, but the future is here. So I think everything is here today and in the now. And as I explained to you, your successes and failures will depend entirely on the kind of choices you make and the challenges that you will go forward and you will accept. So you have to think about this. Now, a very interesting thing has happened. The coronavirus has accelerated change in such a way, whatever we thought would happen in 2030, in 2040, has happened today, has happened now. And that change is huge. And so when we keep talking about, in 2030, we'll see this, we're seeing it here. In fact, we have moved from being human beings in many ways to becoming algorithms. At every point, there's an algorithm that is shaping your life. Now look at the stuff that you see here. These are all encapsulated in the whole idea of artificial intelligence. It's interesting how The Netflix teaches you what to watch. The Google teaches you where to go. The Facebook tells you what is new or how to chat and so on. The Amazon tells you what to buy. I mean, all the time now, because you're not going out, you're on the Amazon ordering things. And also, what do we say? Today, people are having marriages on Zoom, which means that the shadi.coms of this world are telling us who to marry. And so what's going to happen? And in many ways, all of these people, all the people who are behind all this that you're seeing, are actually aware of how you're thinking. They're aware of what you are feeling. They're aware of your choices. And so we have become a prisoner to the big data algorithms. And so we stop thinking. We let somebody else think for us. Why? Stop doing that. Get off the net for a while. Get off these algorithms for a while and start thinking also for yourself. Technology is extremely important, but use it as a tool. Don't let it take over your life. Use it as a tool. Otherwise, you will lose the ability to think. You will lose the ability to reflect. And we need those abilities as we are stepping into the future, and the future is here. So what will happen if you're going to lose your ability? Eventually, how you live, the work you do, the kind of jobs that you want to take on will all be controlled by big data algorithms. Is that what you want? And during the industrial age, as I explained earlier, the rich exploited the poor, right? And today, due to lack of understanding of technology or entrepreneurship, or what I'm explaining to you, innovation, or the ability to think differently, you will become irrelevant. Don't let yourself become a victim of these algorithms. You be there, you design it, you code it, you create it, you be on top of it. You be on top of everything that is coming. And that will only be if you don't just allow them to take over your lives. I notice young people, they can't even concentrate. The ability to concentrate is something, it's very interesting. It was said, what is the difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person? And that is the ability to concentrate and to focus. But all the time here, we're not focusing. We're all the time scattered. We're opening the fridge, or we're picking up the phone, or we're saying whether we've got any message. All the time we're scattered. And unfortunately, technology doesn't help us to bring us together. It scatters us. So we have to use this technology as a tool and keep bringing our focus back to what is important, to what is innovative, to what is creative, and how can we focus, and how can we concentrate on what we're learning. So it's very important, especially if you're doing mathematics. You need to have very huge levels of focusing, huge levels of focusing. And for hours, you have to focus on a problem. But there's lack of concentration. And that's why a lot of children cannot do mathematics, or don't do it, or not good at it, because the lack of concentration and lack of power of focusing. So build that. That is a very strong, resilient 21st century skill, the ability to focus, the ability to concentrate. So the point I'm trying to make over here is that the pandemic, the revolutions of change and disruption that have come in markets and in jobs. And the pandemic hasn't helped. Now, what changed in 10 years will change now in the next 3 to 5 years. Take, for example, the vaccine. Vaccines took 10 years to make. Today, less than 1 year, we're saying a vaccine is in the market. The efficacy of the vaccine, I don't want to get into. Whether it's good or bad, I don't want to get into. But for whatever it's worth, there is a vaccine in the market. And just before the pandemic, you see, it's strange how I always feel the chronological line of the date line is 326 BC, Alexander the Great's invasion. And interestingly, I always feel there is a world before the pandemic and a world after the pandemic. And so before the pandemic, there were things that would take 10 years, 15 years in the coming. The vaccine is an example of this. So which means that everything now has got speeded up. has got accelerated, has got moved. And so this is affecting us psychologically. It's affecting us economically. It's also affecting us technologically and mentally. Now look at the different levels that you have to work at. Look at the different levels that you have to think of. Because psychologically, you have to be ready for change in minutes, in days, in weeks. The year conundrum has gone. Forget about the years. You have to do ready everything now, everything in the now. So it's very frightening to constantly have change. So that is why you have to build up your mind. You have to build up your areas of your strength. You have to concentrate. You have to focus. You have to allow these things to just move in and out, but not get fragmented by them. Because the pace of change has become huge. And let me tell you, the young people are the most affected by it. We have lived our lives. You are the most affected by it. I can assure you it's a very, very challenging time. But I have complete faith in the energy, and I have complete faith in the potential of the young for you to move in these different directions. And so try to reinvent yourself. Keep reinventing yourself. Especially after a certain age, it becomes very difficult to reinvent yourself. But if you want to be relevant, and I say this not only to you as the young, I talk about it to the adults also, that even if you're 75 and you want to be relevant in this world, then reinvent yourself, become a different person. Old people don't like changes at all. You know, they get irritated with change. That is why sometimes in schools, people who've been there for a very long time don't like change. They are very set in their ways. But then they'll become irrelevant. They'll become like dinosaurs. They'll not be required. So it's very important that you have to develop a mental balance and your emotional quotient, because you need a lot of mental balance and you need a lot of mental resilience to deal with this hecticness, this frenzy, this restlessness that has enveloped the world. So reinvent yourself, stay ahead of these algorithms, be focused, concentrate and adapt, and you will find amazing solutions because you have the ability in you and your career options will become huge. So just don't get, am I going to be an engineer? And what kind of an engineer? Basic engineer today is a very different engineer to the engineer that you think your father would have become or your uncle was. It's a very different engineering field today. The medical field is a very different. In fact, a lot of doctors will become irrelevant unless they start looking at different ways of looking at health. So also will engineers become irrelevant unless there are different ways that they're looking at engineering. And so remember one thing, competition may bring you success, but collaboration will create a livelihood. Try to collaborate with people. The two important things, concentrate, focus, build up your mental resilience, reinvent yourselves every 2 to 3 years, be a different human being. And you're so lucky because you're young. And don't be selfish. Don't only think of, I got to do this job, I got to get 90. Do it. But think of the fact that collaborate with people. The more today, it's a very highly networked world. The more networking you have, the better jobs you'll get. That is why people build up alumni networks. You know, people have job networks, alumni networks, teacher networks, because through them, they're able to get their livelihoods. So build up contacts with as many people you can. Be a collaborator, be a communicator. This will help you a great deal in getting your livelihoods. So learn to coexist, learn to cooperate, learn to be harmonious. It's very, very essential. So with this, I move to the next. Look at this. Now, interesting, I want you to look at these sustainable development goals as jobs. These are all the jobs that will be available to you as you step into it. For example, if you're looking at sustainable cities and communities, the most magnificent architects that you have who will create green cities, think about being an environmentalist. There's a lot of money in environmentalism. There's a lot of money today in green coal. If you notice this recently, the Prime Minister of India, I think yesterday, is talking about closing down so many companies, because now we're looking at natural resources. We're looking at natural energies. Look at the oceans. There is a lot of career in oceanographies. right? So think about the kind of careers. Look at climate. Climate is another extremely important aspect, and the kind of careers that are open to climate action. So I think you have to start looking at areas where there is industry, and how do you look at innovation and infrastructure. There have been these stories of today, the kind of buildings and architecture that is going to come up is not going to require only a contractor and architect. It's going to require a doctor, is going to require an environmentalist, is going to require an engineer, it's going to require a person who's a psychologist, is going to require a person who understands sustainable development, because that entire building which is going to come up is going to be a different kind of building, and will have at least 60 different careers connected to just making a building. During my times, it was a building. A couple of people came, put bricks together, and they had an architect, and that was that, and some electrician and somebody else. But today there are so many issues. There are issues about earthquakes, there are issues about fire, there are issues about the way sunlight enters the building, there are issues about toxic paints that affect the painting we're doing, there are issues about vacuums and lifts, and how buildings should be safe and should sway in the wind and not be and should be earthquake resilient. So can you imagine the kind of careers that are open to you? So don't get fixated on these 3-4 careers. I'm noticing that sometimes kids are still fixated on these careers. So if we want a no poverty zone, if we want water, clean water itself has so many careers connected to it. So if we want economic growth, we need to look at affordable energy. We need to look at mental health and well-being, huge careers in the area of psychology. So many of you have so many careers open. Today, every single organization has a mental health person attached to it. And today, there's huge amounts of careers in sports health. A physiologist has so many livelihoods open to him. So please start looking at different ways of earning a living. So that is why in the national education policy, they have brought in vocational education from grade 6. And they're saying, why don't you look at gardening? And they don't mean gardening as it be a mali or being a gardener. They're saying that if you look at it, you can open an entire nursery. You can look at the environment. You can, if you get into hospitality, you can create your own green hotels, and you can create your own boutique hotels and resorts and do all sorts of things, get connected to industry. So please look at alternative careers when you're looking at sustainable development goals. And that's how you should look at it, because this will help us drive poverty out of this country. Now you're looking at this world population chart, and this world population chart is very much something that you could have 9 billion people. But can you imagine the amount of people on this planet who's going to be around? And you are very much going to be part of the 2050 generation. You will be there. And so don't you want to live a happy, healthy life? Because all these people, these millions of people who you will see, may not necessarily have jobs. And so that is why you have to think alternatively and create jobs for people. So when I'm looking at something like this, and I'm looking at the fact that within 2015 and 2040, the kind of world population that we're looking at, we'll have nearly 524 million people who will be between the ages of 65 and 80. And above this, there will be the rest of you. And so there will be a very old population, And so you need to start looking at even how there are careers in geriatric aid. There are careers today in old age homes. I mean, there are all sorts of things which are opening up, and you have to start looking at these aspects. So clear your mind and get ready for change. And again, I submit to you that don't become old-fashioned and just fixate yourself on one type of thought or one type of pattern. Now, the interesting thing is the speed of population aging. That in Korea, China, in the developed countries, populations age very slowly, right? Because they have all the facilities. In countries which are still developing, Brazil, India, China, Thailand, in developing countries, the aging takes place very quickly. And so we see a lot of speed of population aging. So which automatically means that young people are there. And you have to look at these kind of things and see how you're going to move towards it. So now you look at the world population distribution, Now, this is what you must look at very carefully, because what you will see is that
no wonder that VIT became world sponsor.
you
They
will
have big
notice,
fishing
sorry,
area.
Rajiv, could you put
How
yourself
much
on
the fees
mute?
difference? Big difference.
Rajiv? Would somebody put Nidhi? Right. Thank you. Sorry. So you will notice here that in the world population, the fat guys are all in the West. All the population is huge amongst us, and the rest are very lean. And yet, when you look at the wealth distribution in the world, you will notice in the wealth distribution, all the money is on the other side. We have the whole population on this side, but the money is on the other side because they are the ones with the licenses. I think it's time we move the money towards our side. It's very, very important because you're also going to have huge amount of cities which are going to come up. And if you're going to have huge amount of cities which are going to come up in the changing demographics, satellite cities, can you imagine the kind of work that will be required in those cities? Because those cities will require work of environment, of food, of housing, of development, of electricity. So there's a lot that can be done by young people. And if they look at the way that so much is going to happen. So a lot of new cities will come up in India, in China, essentially in areas of Asia and Africa. Whereas the others, it'll shrink because their population is aged, and tremendous job opportunities that will open to you. Why do I keep saying this? Because this essentially has been created as a sort of a career platform. And then you should look at these aspects. So what I need to say is try to look at energy efficiency when you're looking at development of your own jobs and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, we have irreversibly become very different people. And we have, our whole worldview has changed today. What are the important things as young people that you need to understand when you're growing? You must ask your teachers about information literacy. So information is becoming increasingly abundant and contested. Half of it is lies. It's filled with lies, and we're always forwarding lies. So the ability to find, evaluate, and express, because you need to understand big data. And what is the relevance of big data is not irrelevant stuff that we are forwarding all the time. You should have the ability to be able to sift good information, the ability to move across cultures, the ability to have more than one skill set. All of us must learn different languages. Even if we can learn 3 to 4 languages, it is brilliant. I think many of us know our mother tongues. We know English, we know Hindi. If there's some of us from the northern belt of this country, we know Telugu or Malayalam or Kannada, whatever it is. We know different languages, or we should also know some international languages, Spanish or French, so that we can move seamlessly across cultures. And the most important thing is that we must be involved with ecological literacy. The madness that you're seeing going around all over the world today, with the fires raging, with the kind of wildlife being erased, with the way that the oil has contaminated the seas, it's a terrible thing. And the most important thing is to develop emotional literacy. No selfishness. Be more magnanimous in the way you're thinking of the world. Be more aware, be observant, have connectivity and dialogue. And so why do we need to innovate? We need to innovate because I've been telling you that we are living in a very disruptive world, and so we tend to innovate. And the classroom today is very different. Sometimes children are they're restless, they're not concentrating. Somebody's flying a plane, somebody's looking here. Maybe they are taking in things, but it's not the kind of classroom that used to exist the time when I was young, when everybody was staring forward. But there's a certain restlessness that has come into the young people. So the point here is engage yourself and upgrade your skills. Explore new things and expand your horizon. Don't keep looking through just one lens. Concentrate on what you want to do. I'm not saying you take 100 lenses and look through it. Concentrate, get your goal and concentrate, but then expand that goal. Just don't look at the goal through a narrow prism. Look at it through a huge area. So now when we're looking at jobs, I mean, look at it. We were talking about a sort of an overall job industry situation. And you will notice here that the media, entertainment, information industry has become huge during the pandemic. It's become nearly 73%. The consumer industry has also become huge because you're consuming so much, because you're sending out for food, you're sending out for things, because you can't go yourself. Healthcare has become huge. These are all the careers. Energy will become huge. Professional services will become big. Information and technology will be much bigger than 65. It will go beyond 100. Mobility and basic infrastructure is something that will be levelized. You will notice the cost of housing today is nothing. I mean, nobody's buying anything. There's a lot of lack of money in the market. So also all these finance analysts have practically gone out. So if you're looking, this is very interesting how you can see the way that jobs are panning out, and you will have access to these kind of jobs. And so what are the jobs that are going to go away? So don't concentrate on jobs that are going to go away. There will be fewer surgeons and nurses. So what kind of a surgeon do you want to become? Technology is extremely important. So it's essential because today a lot of things are being done by doctors who are actually technocrats more than doctors, because there are complete apparatus that is being used through laser or whatever it is. So whatever you do in whatever aspect of life, you will have to work through technology. So please focus on, if it's language, focus on technology also. If it is mathematics, technology is integral to it. If it is social sciences, technology is integral to it. So look at AI, look at coding, look at technology, use it as a tool. Because if you're just going to be the general GP, general practitioner, nobody's going to come. Though today we are all desperate to have a doctor who comes, and otherwise these days there are only doctors who only look at the knees, and you go to them and say, I'm feeling sick. He says, sorry, I'm just looking at your knee. I'm not interested in anything else. So the point I'm trying to say to you is a lot of these very niche kind of people will disappear. The teachers, trainers, and professors, unless they reinvent themselves, will disappear. Because today the kind of materials that are being offered to you across the country, the kind of learning experiences that are being offered to you, you may not need a one-to-one person talking to you. So also you're seeing gas stations, taxi drivers, power generation plants, all these jobs are going away, coal plants, a lot of these kind of jobs are going away. So what kind of jobs are you going to be really looking at? You're going to be looking at, as I mentioned to you, the whole service industry is going to become big. Architects and even techno-architects, robot therapists, people who can talk to you, engineering programs, self-help coaches, traffic monitoring systems, people who are focused on geriatrics. The whole 3D industry is going to become huge. I mean, from clothes to shoes to houses, there can be a 3D positioning that will happen. So please start looking at these kind of jobs when you're looking, when you're studying. Think about it and focus towards it, and ensure that when you go into higher education after grades 11 and 12, what are the other courses that you will do so that it will support what you are doing. So you must do a blend of technology and a blend of your interest. So what is the world of work in 2040? Have a look at this. So if you're looking at the world of work, the people will need innovators. You have to innovate. You can't be some boring person who's doing what other people have told you to do. Innovate, make something new of yourself. And creativity is going to be there. There'll be a creative class. It'll inspire. And whatever you do, so it will not be that everybody gets one PGT, TGT kind of great salary. You will be paid according to your merit. The more meritorious you are, the better you will pay. You can determine your salary, but you have to be good, you cannot be mediocre. And corporate social responsibility will become a very important part. So the whole NGO sector may also develop in a very big way. Then the whole understanding of smart chips. I mean, even today we have chips inside our bodies which can tell us our temperatures, our diabetes, and other things that we're connected with. So there will be a lot of flat versus hierarchical structures. There will be personalized tablets. We already are into automatic translation of languages. A lot of people may say, I don't need to study a language because I can just translate and speak it on the phone. So if I go to a country, I can do that. So the whole understanding of project-based learning, experiential learning, inquiry-based learning, concept-based learning, and holographic technologies will come. Even now you're studying a 3D technologies. If you're doing the human body, there are so many holograms that are there. So can you imagine the kind, I mean, just a few of the kind of occupations that will be open to you. And there'll be a lot of cultural changes where women are concerned. And there'll be many more women because it'll be a world of communication and collaboration. So there'll be many more women in the market. And so today, when you look at it, and you look at the whole understanding of artificial intelligence, and which today is being applied for social good, in Africa, it has reduced poaching in wildlife through AI, through data collection. And that's happened. In Denmark, there are voice recognition programmers, so that when a person is having a cardiac arrest and he says, hello, hello, they can make out the person is having a cardiac arrest. In Boston, clinical trials have been done to look at chemotherapy doses and so on, again through AI and so on. And there are satellite images that even today you can make out of a tsunami is coming, if there is a Hurricane Harvey, and you can you can save the lives of people. So think of yourself as a sort of a change agent who looks at the whole understanding of CSR, who looks at the understanding of responsibility, artificial intelligence, coding, using the subjects of your choices. So I keep saying, reinvent yourself, reinvent yourself at every point. So there should be an emphasis in your life on critical thinking. You will keep saying this is a 21st century skill, we keep talking about it, blah, blah, blah. But that is the reality, the critical thinking, the creativity, the ability to change. And don't become a product. You become a product. People are using you as a product. But be an idea. Be an idea. You become the idea. Otherwise, today, we're all products. And that is how they are using us. So just you become that idea, and you become that change agent, and you preserve your mental balance in unfamiliar situation and keep learning new things. So know yourself. This can be done for an adult, it can be done for a child. How do you come in your attitude? Are you a person who, are you a kind of a person who can change? What is do you have lots of friends? What are your relationships like? How are you? How is your family? Is your health A-okay? Are you growing well? Is there enough money for you to find your own space? So think about all these things. Make a little chart about yourself. Make a journal. And then move forward, because the next few years of your life are going to be the most important years of your life in your health, in your development, in your career choices, and so on. So it's not a prophecy. I'm not saying, but I am saying that the future is here. So there's no astrology or prophecy attached to it. The soothsayer gives you the future. But when the future is today, then where is the soothsayer? So make the right decisions, because the future is inevitable. And think about the fact earlier, what was electricity, radio, cars, they're going to go out. I mean, there's going to be so much more coming in. And use a whole understanding of innovation and protect human beings. So we need to protect human beings, more than their jobs, because the human being is very important. So how do we protect them? They must learn to balance. There must be a certain sense of mental balance. So think of what we should do now, not some dystopian future, because as I keep saying, the future is here, right? So what is the lifelong learning? Don't become a useless class. Don't become irrelevant, okay? So retrain, and maybe people should be educated and retrain, because the job market is very moving. Today it's one job, tomorrow it's a new job. Maybe another education system has to be built up for the adults around us to make them come to pace as to the change, what is happening. So we need to think about what we are doing today. The adults also need to upgrade themselves and change themselves to the future that is already here. So the goals of what we need to do is, let's keep our emotional intelligence right up in understanding our mental balance, our resilience, our concentration and focus. Let's keep learning, let's keep reinventing ourselves, and let's keep learning new things. And that's extremely important. Ask yourself, what have I learned new in the last 1 week? If you've not learned something new, then there's no point. Have I read something new? Have I written something new? Have I heard of something new? Have I thought something new? If you're not learning something new, you will just descend into some mediocrity. People like you don't need to be mediocre, because you guys are superstars. So if you want to be a superstar, you cannot be by just thinking about it. You have to make an effort for it. So I think it's very important that we look at the whole understanding of partnership and alliances. We should move from self-centered existence to coexistence. We should move from confrontation to interaction. And we should constantly move from alienation to cooperation. And that's what the future is, which is today. And that's the kind of jobs you will get if you start moving in the direction that I'm just speaking of. It's an interesting picture which I love showing all of you, the child leading Gandhi. Ultimately, it's the young who will lead the old. Thank you very much for this, and I'm going to stop sharing now. Thank you for this, and I hope that some questions will be coming up about your thoughts, and yeah. Anybody moderating this, or are there some questions that have come up on this? So is there, yeah, please. May I know your name?
What is your take on the young generation could do to cope with the situation after the pandemic, to face the world after being holed up in their homes for months?
What is my take on young people because they have been sort of tightened over there in their home, and when they come back? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am. How do they face the world after being holed up in their homes for so many months?
You know, the whole idea is that in a sense, you have been looking at the world virtually. And I think that itself is sort of has been there. As far as facing the world is concerned, I think the first thing is human connection. The first thing is to be able to communicate and to get back to relationships that were so important, especially for adolescents, because some very big milestones have got lost in the life of young people. You know, their annual days, their sports days, their field trips, they're coming together on the sports field, all that has got lost. So I think the first thing you should do when you come back and everything is really safe and there is no worry about this mask and that mask, is just to make connections, to touch base, to get more humanized in the approach. So just coming back and saying, oh, let me start this mathematics and let me start off with the practicals. Don't do that to yourself. I think you need spaces to connect back to young people of your own age, to have simple conversations, to be more human in your approach. Right now, the humanness has been taken away from us because of the pandemic. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please suggest to our students who will be venturing out to different parts of the world in a few years' time, adapt to the diversities we might face in universities and later in workplaces? What skills should we develop for this?
I think I've said that in no uncertain terms to all of you during my entire presentation, that the skills that you need to develop are skills of understanding the whole aspect of diversity, that there are going to be people who are going to be different from you. So learn to accept people as they are. Learn and don't trust your opinions on them, and also adapt. It's very important to adapt, to cooperate, to collaborate. I think essentially this is more the whole area of more of the heart set. The heart set are all these things. You have a mindset, you have a skill set, and you have a heart set. Now, what is the heart set? Mindset is something that, you know, we say it's so damned, it's so rigid. Now, the heart set makes you more flexible. It makes you more connected. It makes you more communicative. And if you have this, this is a very important skill set to connect with people. And I think that's the kind of skills that you require to build up in you, so that when you meet people and show interest in them, show involvement in what other people are. Culturally, there should be, as I said, you should be able to move seamlessly through cultures. Make an effort to understand their language, their thoughts, their ideas, their countries, their politics. Make an effort to see how you can become, I'm not saying become a part of them, but understand them, because you are who you are. Every human being has to be their own self, but at the same time has to understand the other. I think that's what's most required to be able to make connections when you step out into the world. Any other questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. With that, I end. Thank you.
Ma'am, we have one more question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, could you throw light on how exchange programs could help?
Yeah, sure. Exchange programs do help because, you know, they're much more than just going with your family to some hotel, catching hold of a guide and seeing the city and coming back, because then you're still with your own family. You know, you're still in your own little bubble of comfort. Some people even carry their food with them when they go, because they don't want to eat the food in other countries and so on. But an exchange program is great because you actually get to see the sights, the smells, the colors, the fragrances, the culture, the language, the music of that country on a one-to-one basis. For example, when students come to us from Germany into our schools and they come at a time of Dussehra or Diwali, we take them for weddings, and they see how Indian wedding is done, how Diwali is celebrated at people's homes, how Dussehra takes place. So they get a hands-on experience of, so everybody who's doing an exchange program, and an exchange program should ideally be living in each other's homes, because that's how a true exchange is. There's no point in having an exchange program. You live in a hotel and then they come to your school and you hang around the whole day and again they go back into the hotel. An exchange program is when you actually get thrown into the nitty-gritty of life and living in your friend's home. And so it certainly helps you to understand. And these exchange programs have become very, very popular, because I have known of my students who, in so many years of my life, nearly 45 years of my life as a teacher, I've seen that young people have kept up their networking, and they've gone and visited them even after they've got married, and they've kept their friendships. And it's been a great success story, the exchanges. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a most insightful session.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for throwing light upon an extremely relevant topic vis-a-vis the changing times. Dear audience, stay tuned with us to fill in the feedback form that is posted in the chat box.
So with your permission, may I leave now? May I leave the forum?
Ma'am, just for the vote of thanks.
Oh, right. Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yes,
I thought you just thanked me. Thank you. I'll wait.
Gratitude is not only the greatest of all virtues, but the parent of all others. As we come to the close of such an enriching session, it is my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. Honorable guest speaker, Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors of Indian Schools, Honorable Directors of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, Mr. Ajay Kumar, President, Indian School Management Committee, Members, Indian School Management Committee, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, and the principals of all the Indian schools from Oman, sirs and ma'ams. Good evening. I deem it my great privilege to thank you all on behalf of Indian School Muscat. Let me first express my profound gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq for the magnanimous benevolence showered on the Indian diaspora in the Sultanate of Oman. May the Almighty shower abundant blessings on His Majesty and this country. We extend our heartfelt thanks to our eminent speaker, Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, for the enlightening talk she has delivered that has broadened our horizons with regard to a topical matter. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Our deepest sense of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, and members on the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. Mr. Ajay Kumar, President, Indian School Muscat Management Committee, and members of Indian School Muscat Management Committee. Our beloved principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, deserves a special mention of thanks for spearheading Avenue 2020. Thank you for being a pillar of strength, sir. My sincere thanks to the presidents and members of all Indian School Management Committees in the Sultanate of Oman, principals, vice principals, assistant vice principals, supervisors, coordinators, heads of departments, teachers, parents, and students. Words will not suffice to describe the amount of work that has gone into making of Avenue 2020. My heartfelt gratitude goes out to my Indian School Muscat team for making Avenue 2020 happen. Thank you all once again for joining us this evening. We close this session here, but may the insightful words we heard today be the beginning of a brilliant future. Signing off from here is Hargun Kaur Rana of Class 11C from Indian School Muscat.